Hello YouTubers, today I'm going to try to show you as best as I can on how I make speaker housings like this. Now this particular housing was made of cheap pallet wood and I got better wood, so I'm going to remake the housing for this guy right here and probably this guy as well. Now the situation here is this is a clamp mount speaker as well as this one. But you may notice that there's this huge gap here, and I don't like that. And that's too because this is cheap pallet wood. But see how nice and kind of almost flush this one is? Because this one's made of cedar wood, which is what I'm going to replace this guy with. And like I told you in the last video, that my room's going to be getting rearranged and be moving some things around. And part of it too is fixing the system, making it better, along with getting rid of this and making new changes with the alarm system. And I have a piece of the sample piece of wood right here. This is what I'm talking about, cedar wood, which is basically picket fence wood. Yeah, you could get $2 a piece at Home Depot. So I'll take you into the workshop. So I'll stop it here and take you to the workshop. Okay, so I'm in my workshop now. And this is the board you usually see at, well, I would say your local Home Depot, because I don't know if Lowe's or Ace Hardware has the same type of wood. But I got this at Home Depot. And that's how it comes out to be. Just that one long piece of board. And then here's my sample template right here, I like to call it. I'm just going to call this my template with just some generic 8-inch speaker. Basically like the one I showed you in the other room. So this is my template. I have more wood here. Now you're going to probably, if you decide to do this, if you don't have anything to hold your pieces of wood together, cornered and whatnot, use hard copy books like this. And I got plenty of hard copy books. You're going to need a miter saw to give yourself some clean cuts. Drywall screws. Tape measure. Something to mark with. I prefer just a regular number 2 wooden pencil. You could probably use a mechanical pencil, but it'll probably be a little more difficult. So I need to sharpen that. So I will get myself set up. And I'll explain to you guys how I do it, because I've been getting some questions about how do I make my speaker housings and what are my dimensions. And right there is also cedar wood. That speaker too is made of the same type of wood. And this makes your job look cleaner, so I'll stop it here and I'll put everything together. So I am all set up now. Now the first thing I normally do is measure out the baffle. Now this one's around 13 inches in diameter all the way around. So normally I cut 2 edges. 2 edges have a certain length and then the other 2 edges have a certain length. In my case, 2 edges are going to be 13 inches to match the size of the baffle. So let me scoot that aside. Bring out the tape measure. Try to line it up. I don't know. So you guys can see. Depending on the tape measure, if it'll stay or not. So right here, I have 13. I want to mark it right here. With the pencil, just like that. And now I'm going to take it over to my miter saw that I have set up here. Now this one actually has a laser. I don't know if you'll probably be able to see it or not. Yeah, you should be able to see it, but there's a little laser line. So now I try to line up the blade with that, so I could cut it perfectly. My edges, this edge could use a little bit of a trim just due to it being a little crooked. So I'm just going to cut a hair of it off. So I cut a little hair of it off so that way it's a little bit straighter. Because sometimes the saw for some reason cuts edges a little bit crooked. There's one edge down. I don't know if you can zoom out so you guys can see. Now it might just be a bit short, but that's okay. As long as I make both pieces even. So this is my piece I just cut. It's a little under 13, but that's fine. It's enough to cover that baffle. So now I'm going to grab this other piece I have right here. I'm going to try to line them up so I don't have to sit there and keep repeatedly measuring. And these two happen to be about the same, so I don't need to, oh, okay, so I don't need to cut those. These two are perfect, so I put a side so I don't get confused. That's how I do it. So that's side number one. And then here, I try to balance the speaker to see what's going on, so I will get everything else set up and just show you what's going on. So okay, YouTubers, so what I normally like to do before starting to cut my cedar wood is cut this edge off, because I don't want to get my measurements thrown off or anything. So get rid of that piece. You don't need that. And you just want a clean edge like that, so that way I can start it off. Like I said, my two edges are done right there. So that's side A. I like to call it side A. So now we gotta, I decided those will probably be my bottom side. This is gonna be around, trying to make it, I think a 13 or so. If I could get it to hold on my table. So you guys can see what's going on here. So I don't know if you can see. I'll try to zoom in so you can see what's going on. Keep your eye on the 13 mark there. So I'm gonna go a little bit over just so that way I could clean up crooked edges and whatnot. So there we go. There's my 13. I did go over a bit, but I did that for a reason. So that way, if my edges get off a little bit, I could clean them up. So and it happens that my laser's starting to die, so I might not be able, you might not be able to see it because the laser's starting to die. So you might not be able to see a laser because it's starting to die. So take you back over here. And like I said, sometimes my saw cuts crooked for some reason, so you might cut it just a smidge crooked sometimes on different pieces. But so you can see what's going on here. I always line up my edges with something. I know that my hand's not a real good straight edge. That's where a book could come in handy. The good straight edge. You know, like that. And this one happens to cut straight, so. And I use this other piece as a straight edge. So, this is side B. So, now we're going to take this here. And let me get my tripod set up here. So now, we can see what's going on. And this is extra. So I'll put that off to the side. Maybe I might use it for another speaker. So now, back over here. Now this is just a bit off, just a bit, but like what I always like to do, you see how that one's a little off? I always like to clean cut it. That's why I went a little over 13 inches, just so that way my edges are perfect. I know some of you are probably gonna say, why do you do it that way? It's just better that way, and always to clean up your table, as you can see. Clean up your table when you're trying to line up pieces of wood. So that way you can see how you can get your wood to be level. And see how that's off just a bit, a little offset. Because the bottom's basically fine. So we're not taking the full 13 inches away. And there goes side B. Now, what I'm going to try to do here is put books all around. And you zoom out. So these two sides will kind of go like this. It's not screwed in yet. This is kind of almost about prepping for the screw. Prepping for screws and whatnot. Now you do want to make sure to put the letters inside. This is normally how I put them together. I always put them on a real smooth, leveled surface, so that way it's not offset around the edges. So let me go get some books I have over here to prevent my edges from collapsing. So I'll put my books over here. Put another one just to be safe. And this is just the way how I do it, so you don't exactly need to do it this way, but it just helps me to line up my pieces like this. So, and since this box is extra deep, I'm going to see if I could fit it in here a little bit without the edges caving in. Because I don't want my edges to cave in. So this is how it'll kind of look once you set it in there. That's how your speaker looks when you set it in. But I normally put cardboard to fill in the other holes because you don't want to see it. That's the preview of how I make my housings right there. Except it's not screwed together yet. And then I'm going to probably use some of this cardboard I have in the corner to trash pick some free boxes along with a bunch up there. So that's how this is the basics of my speaker housings. This is the basic way how I build it. Now the clamp's going to be interesting because these clamp speakers, like I said, you have to do it differently. It's not none of those stud mount speakers like this guy up here where it's easy to just screw it out the front. So now I'm going to go prep my drill and I'll be right back. Okay, YouTubers, so I am back with my drills all set up here. Now, this is normally how I construct it, corner by corner first. Now, I have my other two pieces there. They're basically symmetrical to these two pieces here. Now, the books is to help support the corners, and I would prefer, if you have two drills, to have two drills ready, because one, you're going to need one with the drill bit, because you don't want to just force screws into this wood, because what happens is when you force screws through, your wood starts splitting and it won't look very pretty at all. So I would recommend having two drills, and then the other drill has your Phillips bit for the drywall screws. It's just to save you time, but if you really want to use one drill and knock yourselves out, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. It helps me save time and speeds things up faster. So I normally put 2 screws per hole, well, per piece. So since this piece is out in the open, I'm going to drill 2 holes here. So I'm going to try to do it carefully without knocking anything out. So now you take that out. Now, it is normal for it to push that other piece out. That's absolutely fine. So see, now it's in there. And I normally just pierce the screw right through because so that way when I'm putting it together it doesn't get offset. So there goes my one screw right there. So now gotta do the other side, make sure that nothing's offset here. This is the basics of how I construct my housings. So might need to drill just a bit deeper. So don't drill all the way through because you want your screw to be able to grip. Now you could go with a bit that's a lot smaller, but I don't have any extra smaller bits. That's just what I have. So I'll try to crank this one just a bit tighter. So there we go. That's part of the corner of my housing. See how I do it? And yes, the system will get painted over like I normally have all my other housings. Back in the other room. So there we go. And I just keep on going with it. So we got A housing, and then we just slide this other piece right through. Line up all the books, so that way I can push these pieces of wood together. And don't mind the what is the Easter book, in case you're wondering. I just happened to find it out on the street, and I just keep it for holding things and whatnot. So I slide in like that, line up all my books so I can push the corners in very well. So same process, drill, drill your hole in, blow your dust away so it doesn't offset your housing a bit. So that's how I do it. Make sure that your bottom's in place very well. Do that, put your screw through. Now, you probably just saw what happened there. When you drill too deep, the screw's not going to hold in. So I'll have to drill another hole. So if you see that happen, just simply re-drill another hole. You can touch it up if you want. You can touch it up. I might just leave it or touch it up. I don't know. I'll decide on that. So, there you go. There's the housing, all like that. And like I said, once you start putting it together, it won't be as hard. It'll start getting easier and easier to line up corners. So here it is right here. Just slap on my top. Show you that. So you basically get the concept, just slap on the housing. So I'll get back to you when I'm done drilling this together. So I am back with my enclosure that I put together. Now, you may notice that the wood is different. I sanded it down, so this is the first time I've ever sanded down my enclosures. I just want to see how the appearance is, but it's still the same wood, the same type. Excuse me about that, but now basically, like I said, I put cardboard in the front. You could put plywood, you could put sheet wood on it. It's up to you, but for me, it's easier to put cardboard down. But it's easy to cut, so I'm gonna take my Sharpie. You could use a pencil or a Crayola marker, but I prefer a Sharpie. And I'm gonna try to line it up as away from the wrinkles as much as possible. Now, it's okay if it gets on the wood, it's not a big deal. You don't really need any power tools for this. All you gotta do is cut it with your utility knife. And see what I'm doing, how I'm marking lines inside? It's to make sure that this is matched up, to make it kind of symmetrical to each other. Just like that. You put as many lines as you want in there, shapes, symbols, numbers. That's how I do it, to make sure that everything is lined up correctly. So now I'm going to remove this and we got my square down on this piece of cardboard that was once a box. So now, yeah, this is just a cheapo box cutter. So this isn't nothing fancy, but since this table's got lines on the side here, it'll make it a little easier to cut. Just take your time, don't rush, because it'll make your work not look very great. And this is the technique I've always used making my speaker housings. It's okay to go over because you want to get rid of all the excess cardboard. You see? Now some pieces may still be attached, but you can always go over in the back. Go over it gently. And voila. Get that piece of cardboard out. And that's how you cut a good edge. And I'm going to repeat the process with all 4 edges. See how it just comes right apart? Now, I recommend you to get this table. This is a Husky workstation table. Especially with these little grooves in there, it's meant to put power tools and clamps and stuff on. But it also is perfect to run your traces through cardboard without scuffing up surfaces, because it actually will go inside of here without scratching anything up if you have it straight. There you go. You got your housing base, and now it's a matter of lining it back up, just like that. That's how it'll look in the front. Now, all of this labeling here, it's gonna get painted over. So, and I could have talked there in case you're wondering. So, this is gonna get painted all over. Some of this I might have to put double coats over it, but that's absolutely fine. And that's how this is made. And now, since this is all lined up, we gotta line it up. Gotta get some screws. Now, I use these sheet metal screws for the corners. I usually put 2 here, 2 here, 2 here in case you haven't noticed in my intercom video update. But now I'm going to drive these screws through the cardboard. So I'm going to see if I can zoom in to what I'm doing here. So I'm going to put 2 in this corner. So with a screwdriver, you're going to need to get yourself one of these Phillips screwdrivers. Now, any screw will do, as long as they're this short. They don't have to be sheet metal screws. It's what I have. You guys can make it however you want. So you do not need to drill holes in the car, in the wood, to put these in. So, as you saw, I just drive it right in there with a screwdriver. You don't need power tools for this. Just a simple screwdriver, just a Phillips screwdriver. Just like that. And now we're going to go to this corner. Now, it may be overlapping, but I'm going to come back and cut any excess. That's how you do it. Now, it's the same thing for that corner and that corner, so I'm going to stop it here. And I'll get back to I'm ready to start cutting this excess cardboard off. YouTuber, so I've already kind of went ahead and cleaned up some edges. Not as perfect as I want it to be, but that's okay because it's going to get painted over. This edge is all lined up. This one is lined up. This one was a little bit not as perfect as I wanted, but that's fine. So now, the final step really is to make a hole, but I usually start the holes a little bit small just in case something doesn't work out. I might have to cut it a bit bigger, but this is how I usually start it off, so that way I don't make the hole too big. That's how I knocked it in there. That was just a bit too small, but because these clamps are an issue, so I'm gonna have to cut it about this far out. Maybe cut this just a hair bit longer too. So that's about usually how big the holes are. Now, if you get a 4J speaker, you're going to probably want to cut it smaller, because 4J speakers have a smaller diameter, unlike these standard speaker baffles. So now we got to check in the back, and everything looks just about okay here. Everything looks just about fine back here. Now, I would say I'm going to cut that just a bit deeper down. So, try this again. You should just leg right in there. Now you probably noticed I accidentally cut it a little too big, but that's okay, because this is for my use. I usually cut it as a square just so that way the transform and everything can fit, but this is just about good. Just might cover that with some duct tape or something and then paint over it. So this is just the basics of how I do this. Now, try to flip it down to the other side here. So, since this is one of those clip mount speakers, like one of those slide-in type of speakers, I normally flip these two hooks up and I put two screws here, and same with the other side. Preferably get a screw with a washer or some kind of a little small bolt. Kind of like this screw. These seem to work the best. These basically bolt type of screws. Just put 4 of them in there and you'll be good, and this won't be popping out. Now this speaker is not going to be on the intercom system. It's going to be that other one I showed you way in the beginning. That's where this is going to be in use at. So now gotta go get my jig tool and put my jig holes on the side, because that's how I mount these to the walls. I don't know if you heard of it, the Craig jig tool. I use it with this stuff as well. So I'll get that ready, and that's basically the final step, and you're basically done. Okay, YouTubers, so I am back with my Craig tool set up. Now I bet you most of you have probably seen this on TV, because this is one of those basically I've seen on TVs, except for a tool. Now, this tool is handy in making side holes. So, and it also comes with this bit as well. Now, you're going to need to have clamps. Preferably one of these type of clamps. I don't know the specific name of these clamps, but you should get a hold of one of these, because this is going to make your holes kind of neat. You do still need to hold it, because sometimes it may slide around and make your work kind of look shoddy, which that's what I like to call it. So you're just going to basically insert it in like this. Get it started in there. Make sure to kind of leave the vent open, because wood shavings will come out. And you'll know when it's done, because the little bit should poke right out right there, that small little bit, that's what I have it zoomed on. So see how that just kind of poked out? You want it to go out that far. You don't want to poke it out all the way, otherwise the hole will be useless. Okay, unclamp it. And there you go. And blow it out. So that's basically how you make one of these pilot holes on the side, to make it easier to mount to the wall. Now, I'm going to do one more here and two here. That's how I do it. I'll zoom out so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to put two more of those holes here and another one here. And that'll basically be the final product. It's ready to mount, ready to put your speaker in there. So I will stop it here. Okay, so this is basically what the final product looks like. I'm not going to paint this just yet, but probably like in a couple of weeks or so, I'm going to install this, because like I said, my room's getting rearranged, which means I'm going to be fixing the intercom more, repairing back boxes that were not made of good wood. So you can paint this whatever color. So I'll go get perfect examples of house paint here. You could use Glidden paint, you could use Bear paint, or even if you have a big bucket like I do in this corner, which by the way, that's the gray that my room is, which I'm going to be getting in that bucket and painting this gray. I don't paint the baffles, because I'm not one of those sloppy workers that paints the speaker baffles. I like to have them show. But all the cardboard, screws, wood will get painted, and I'll be ready to mount. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and answered those questions about how I make my speaker housings and whatnot. So be sure to click that thumbs up video. Subscribe to me, and stay tuned for more.